Imagine standing inside an ancient temple, running your hand along stone that's thousands of years old, and realizing something doesn't make sense. Not spiritually, not symbolically, physically. The cuts are too precise. The alignments are too accurate. The engineering feels intentional in a way we're not supposed to notice. And suddenly a thought creeps in that most history books never prepare you for. What if ancient temples weren't just places of worship? What if they were hiding advanced technology in plain sight? Now, before your mind jumps to science fiction, pause with me for a moment. This isn't about aliens landing with laser tools or ancient people being incapable. Ancient humans were brilliant, resourceful, deeply observant, but they were also limited by the tools we believe they had. No electricity, no engines, no modern metallurgy, no computers. And yet, across the world, ancient temples demonstrate a level of precision, planning, and scientific understanding that still challenges modern engineers. And what makes this even more unsettling is that these temples weren't built in isolation. Cultures separated by oceans, languages, and time periods all left behind structures that seem obsessed with the same things. Geometry, astronomy, energy, sound, frequency, light, almost as if they were solving the same problem or following the same blueprint. Take a step back and think about what a temple really is. We're taught to see it as a religious structure, a symbolic space, a place for ritual. But religion, historically, was often the language used to describe things people didn't fully understand yet. When technology is far beyond comprehension, it doesn't look like engineering. It looks like divinity. Walk through certain ancient temples, and you'll notice something strange. Stones fitted together so tightly that even today, you can't slide a blade between them. No mortar, no gaps, just perfect contact. Modern builders often rely on materials to hide imperfections. These structures didn't. The perfection was the point. Then there's alignment. Many ancient temples are aligned with solstices, equinoxes, lunar cycles, and stellar events with astonishing accuracy. Light enters specific chambers on specific days, illuminating precise symbols or altars. This isn't decorative coincidence. This is calculation. And calculation requires measurement, long-term observation, and an understanding of celestial mechanics that goes far beyond what we assume ancient societies possessed. Ask yourself this. Why would a religious structure need that level of astronomical precision? Why encode the movement of the heavens into stone unless the heavens mattered for more than symbolism? Now consider sound. This is one of the least talked about aspects, yet one of the most fascinating. Certain temples and ancient sites have acoustic properties that feel almost engineered. A whisper in one location travels clearly across vast spaces. A clap produces echo patterns that affect the human nervous system. Some chambers amplify low frequencies. Others distort sound in ways that can induce altered states of consciousness. This isn't accidental. Sound behaves predictably. To shape it, you need intention. Then there's geometry. Sacred geometry, we're told. But geometry is math. Ratios, frequencies, patterns that repeat in nature, physics, and even atomic structures. Many temples are built using proportions that reflect natural constants, shapes that maximize stability, resonance, and energy flow. Again, symbolism is the easy explanation. Engineering is the uncomfortable one. And let's talk about materials. Some ancient temples were constructed using stones that are incredibly hard to cut even with modern tools. Others show drilling marks that suggest rotational tools, not simple chisels. In some sites, stones appear vitrified, as if exposed to extreme heat far beyond what open fires could produce. How did they do this? The honest answer is, we don't fully know. And that's where things get interesting. Because instead of admitting uncertainty, mainstream explanations often lean on repetition. They had more time. They had more labor. They were motivated by belief. None of those explain precision. Time doesn't create accuracy. Labor doesn't create mathematics. Belief doesn't explain physics. What if these temples were multifunctional? Places of ritual, yes, but also places of learning, observation, calibration, energy manipulation. What if they were ancient interfaces between humans and natural forces we barely understand even now? Think about water. Many temples are built near water sources, underground channels, resonant chambers where flowing water creates vibration. Vibration creates frequency. Frequency affects matter. This is not mysticism. This is physics. Modern science is only now rediscovering how vibration and frequency influence biological systems. Now imagine an ancient culture that understood this intuitively, not through equations, but through observation. Generations watching how light moves, how sound behaves, how water flows, how the sky cycles. Over centuries, knowledge accumulates. Structures evolve. Precision increases. But here's the paradox. Some of this knowledge appears suddenly in the archaeological record, not gradually, not experimentally, fully formed, as if something accelerated understanding. That brings us to the uncomfortable question. Were ancient temples hiding technology or preserving it? Because temples are not just buildings. They're information storage systems. Stone lasts longer than paper, longer than memory, longer than civilizations. If you wanted to preserve knowledge across collapses, you wouldn't write it down. You'd encode it into architecture, alignments, ratios, materials, locations, all acting as data. Data that only becomes visible when you know how to look. And here's the part that really messes with our assumptions. Many ancient cultures believed knowledge came from the gods. Teachers who descended from the sky, beings who brought wisdom, agriculture, architecture, law, and then disappeared. We call these myths. But myths are often historical memory filtered through symbolism. What if gods was simply the only word available to describe advanced knowledge? This doesn't require believing in aliens. It requires admitting that our understanding of ancient intelligence may be incomplete, that ancient people might have known things we forgot, or accessed methods we lost, or learned from sources we no longer recognize. And notice something else. Many ancient temples are not easy to build. They're not convenient. They're often located on mountaintops, deep jungles, or seismic zones, places rich in energy, fault lines, or magnetic anomalies. Modern science knows these places behave differently. Ancient builders seem drawn to them. Why? Because temples may not have been about comfort. They may have been about connection. To the earth, to the sky, to forces we're only beginning to measure again. Now here's where people get uncomfortable. Because if ancient temples hide advanced technology or lost knowledge, it means progress is not linear. It means humanity rises, learns, collapses, and repeats. It means we may not be the first advanced civilization to ask big questions, just the latest. And that idea destabilizes everything. History, identity, authority. It suggests that what we call primitive may simply be incomplete. The real danger isn't believing ancient people were more advanced than we think. The danger is assuming we already know everything they knew. Because once you accept that ancient temples might be more than symbolic ruins, you start seeing patterns everywhere. Repetition, precision, intent, a global obsession with the same natural forces. And maybe that's the point. Maybe these structures weren't meant to be understood immediately. Maybe they were designed to wait, to reveal themselves slowly, as humanity matured enough to ask the right questions. So the next time you see an ancient temple, don't just ask who built it, or when. Ask why it was built that way. Ask what knowledge it encodes. Ask what we might have forgotten. Because history isn't just behind us. Sometimes, it's quietly waiting for us to catch up. And that's the future paradox.